Recorded Books and One Click Digital present Fatal Identity by Joanne Fluke. Narrated by Tavia Gilbert. Prologue. He knew he'd lived in a house once, but it hadn't been as big as this mansion in Mandeville Canyon. Although he couldn't remember it, he'd had a mother and a father, and maybe even a dog. The Red Lady had told him that once, when she was having one of her good days. He remembered that day very clearly. It had been the best day of his life. Miss Roselle had given him a box of new pencils for his birthday, with his name stamped on them in gold letters. There were 12 pencils, in pretty bright colors. 3 orange, 3 green, 3 blue, and 3 yellow. He'd counted them out for Miss Roselle, and she'd said, "Very good, Jimmy." And then she'd hugged him and told him that he was a very good student, the best she'd ever had in kindergarten. The flat box of pencils had rattled under his shirt, and there had been an unaccustomed smile on his face as he'd run all the way back to the apartment building. He'd pulled open the door to the dark, cramped little lobby with its row of broken mailboxes, and his smile had abruptly disappeared. The Red Lady was waiting for him upstairs, and he had to be very careful. He never knew which one she'd be. The one who slept on the rumpled bed in the red room with her mouth slightly open to let out the snores. The one who sat at the table and smiled and told him how much she loved him. Or the one who grabbed him roughly and made him do nasty things with one of the uncles because he was a bad boy who needed to be punished. As he tiptoed up the creaky wooden steps that led to the 4th floor, he put on the mask he wore for her. It was a good mask, and it had saved him from her punishment several times in the past. He wore it so she wouldn't learn how much she hurt him. His eyes were downcast so she couldn't read his expression and call him a rude little bastard. His head was bowed in an attitude of respect. His expression was carefully blank, like the glass-eyed face of the teddy bear Miss Roselle had on the shelf in their classroom. It was a look of impassive surrender to the things over which he had no control. It was a lot like the reading contests in school. If you could read the word, Miss Roselle let you go out for recess early, but if you missed your word, Miss Roselle gave you another and another until you got one right. It wasn't fair to compare her to Miss Roselle, but he'd learned the whole thing was very similar. If he got the mask right, the Red Lady hit him once or twice, and then she gave up and let him go, but if he whimpered or started to cry...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?